Welcome to Brightly, You Radiant Being, the show that wildly recognizes, encourages, and invests in the radiance we all carry so you can shine your brightest. Each episode, we share soul driven advice and topics to help you live more brightly in mind, body, and spirit. Through sharing our experiences, friendship, and passions, we hope to impact you to step more brightly into yourself, inch by inch.
I love it.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi, Amy.
So,
in case nobody else, we just talked about this off air, but we changed our intro.
we did. We changed our intro. I love it. It's a little bit more succinct, and it actually says really what we're doing. Because when Tracy and I met, I think we got to this before the solstice. We were like, we're actually like an advice show. But Tracy worked her magic, and
Chief Brilliance Officer.
We share
exclamation point.
Exactly. So we share soul driven advice and topics, right? So I love that it's soul driven advice and topics.
Yeah, just as the more and more we talk about what this show is and what we want it to be, that question that one of our OG listeners, bringing up, or in my head, she keeps bringing it up. She said it once and it has stayed with me, but who is your audience? Yeah. And so, you magical people that are here, it's you, obviously. But we don't just, while we're really interested in personal development and friendship and all those things, we've and curiosity that we talked about. We like to add a little bit of magic to it. And we kind of have a little bit of magic that we're going to bring today, right? Or at least some people think it's magic. I think it's a part of everyday life and people don't know they're doing it.
Oh, I agree 100%. And I feel like, so 2 times ago, you were talking in the open episode, you were talking about how every job that you've interviewed for, you've been offered.
I have,
right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
if you missed that episode, not every job I've applied for.
Right. Just every job you've interviewed for. And then last episode, talking about personal power. So I feel like the open to receiving and personal power, and you mix those together and bippity boppity boo, what have you got?
You got the skills to manifest.
Oh, yeah, you do, baby. Or hopefully you do.
Well, you just need to recognize you do.
Yes, you do.
Manifestation is kind of a buzzword. You see it all over Instagram, or at least Instagram, the algorithm knows me by now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think back to even like 20, 21 years ago, Oprah talked about it, Seed of the Soul.
Absolutely.
Or however you say his name.
Yeah.
It's really popular. And I think it's because people are recognizing their power. And I think it's because people want more in life, right?
I think that is 100% right. So I was looking, I looked like I was looking at something else, but
this is an audio podcast. I know we record it visually, but not everybody.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you for always reminding me of that, Tracy, because I'm always like, am I ready for my close-up?
I'm just staring at myself while you look down, so it's perfectly fine.
I was looking to see when The Secret was written, and it was first written in 2006. So
that's later than I thought it was.
But The Secret comes after legions of books people.
Manifestation is not new. People might be catching on to the buzzwords. You might see it more because of social media. People have been actively.
It's old timey.
Doing it. Yeah. It's biblical, right? Like. So I gotta ask, what have you manifested lately?
So, thanks for asking.
You're glowing.
I know. Why I said I know, and I'm like, what? Why'd you say you know? I got this book. It's called E2, and it's 9 energy experiments, something you can do on your own, by Pam Grout. It was one of those books that just like, and actually I saw the E3 book first. It popped off the shelf at me at a library, so I decided to get the first one. And
I didn't even know there was an E3, and I have read E2.
Yeah. So what I love about E2 is it's literally, she gives you these experiments to try, but it's sort of like manifestation light still, so she starts you off slowly. And I'm actually going through the experiments, writing my findings, taking notes,
You're
all
doing a field
those.
study. Look at you.
I am doing a field study. I am. So, so one of the things was tell the universe to show you green cars. See how many green cars you can see for 24 hours. Well, let me tell you, I know all of you are like, oh, big deal, green cars. Oh, yeah. Wait till you start seeing green cars and you'll go, I have never seen this many green cars, because that's how it works. Okay. Not only am I seeing green cars and continue to see these green cars, these are electric green cars. I've seen a green semi, like it's just crazy. So then my next thing was blue butterflies. My mask had blue butterflies on it. My son has this cap. He goes, yeah, it was wait, what is it called? It's like, yeah, they did this famous person. Oh, a collab. They did this collab with this Boston Red Sox team. And there's these butterflies all over the hat. I'm like, what the?
You know
So,
what I love about that? I believe in the power of manifestation, but you mentioned The Secret earlier. A huge part of The Secret is about raising your awareness, right? So when you're asking for these things, and we've talked about this in past episodes, you've opened your awareness up to recognize it. And so you're doing really simple experiments with concrete things. That green cars exist in the world, blue butterflies exist in the world. But when you apply it to your goals or something you really want in the world, what you're going to see are the opportunities that maybe prior you had blind spots to, right? Like we're opening to new opportunities. And in your case, you're just going to have new discussions, a greater awareness, more powerful.
And not only that, you are proving to yourself that you can. It's like you can manifest, even though, of course, they already exist in the world. Well, guess what? The things you want already exist in the world as well. Yes.
And that's what, when The Secret came out, I was one of those people that because it was popular and trendy and because it was kind of frou-frou, I was like, whatever, I'm not going to read it. There's a documentary of it on Netflix now. And so finally, 2020, I got that low in my need for new content that I was like, all right, fine, Netflix, you keep recommending it. That algorithm also knows me. And I finally watched it and I was like, oh, you do that.
Okay, so Tracy, it was a documentary before it was a book. So that's probably why you thought it was older than 2006, because it was the documentary DVD, first. Yes, she filmed it first, then wrote the book.
All right.
But before The Secret was What the Bleep Do We Know?
I love that.
Yeah.
That is that, and that's actually on quantum mechanics. Like there are scientists that study this power.
But I think that people need to realize that manifestation is actually, it is kind of quantum mechanics. It is sort of that.
Everything is energy in the world.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it's about directing your attention to your influence and your power over that energy, right? And how open are you to receiving it? And look at that. I tied it all together.
Yeah. See, how open are you to receiving that? So, because even though, like you say, manifestation, everybody's like, whatever, manifestation, we all know what that is. Do you really? Do you really? And plus, because I kind of was the same way, and I've been doing experiments for the last week on manifesting things. But of course, I'm going to just like go on Google and see like, what does Google have to say about it? So I started taking notes and copying and pasting and mind body green and this and that. And all of a sudden I was like, holy Effenheimer Schmitz, this thing is like, you could go off in a billion different directions, right? There's laws. There's like the 17 laws of the universe, and the law of attraction is only like number 7, so, and then there's 12 laws of this, and there's 7 laws of attraction. So finally I just went, okay, let's just take a step back from that, because I could be here for centuries. I was at a library today for something completely different, and they actually had The Secret on the shelf.
You manifested with your awareness.
Oh my gosh, I know. So I was like, let's see what they have to say. Not they. Well, yeah, they, because she does take from a lot of different people.
Yeah.
But so I just thought, when they actually say, what is the law of attraction? How do you manifest something? in the book, The Secret, they break it down to 3 easy steps. Ask. So obviously you need to know what you want. And then you have to actually let the universe, God, source, whatever, know that this is what you want. You have to believe that you will receive, that it's coming to you, right? So you have to believe it, and then you just have to receive it, right? So that all seems super easy. But when I think about manifesting, like anytime I've ever manifested something, it's been like a crazy combination of, yes, a deep desire for it, a really good feeling inside, but that's sort of only in hindsight that I remember that I had that really good feeling or openness to receive. And magic, like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. So,
But you also took action, right? You didn't just like
well,
watch it go by.
I probably did take action. But I'm also, when I think about how I've manifested in the past, it's also like asking your grandma for her, famous lemon bars recipe, right? She gives you the recipe and you make it. You're like, this doesn't taste the way your lemon bars taste, because she didn't, because you can't do it the same way, because she
Yeah.
does add magic. I'm just going to tell you that
The
right now.
whole is greater than the sum of its parts, right?
Right.
There's also, once you put everything together, the ingredients, which includes the person making it, like there's
Exactly.
baking and then there's baking with love, right?
Yes. And then there's baking with fresh grated ginger that you've grated underneath the new moon, and you just don't know, right? So, also, like, when you think about anything you've manifested, like, can you pinpoint how you did it? Yes, you, Tracy.
Uh, some things more recently with what I've been learning about manifestation,
Mhm.
yeah. Other things in hindsight, I look back and some people call me lucky, which I am. So universe, hey, I'm not saying I'm not. But I also feel like what I did was manifest opportunity. And because I did some of those things naturally that are in The Secret, ask, believe, receive, that when the opportunity presented itself, I was ready and I took it, and it was mine. It was immediately mine. There was no like imposter syndrome. Like there's worry, like, can I do this? And like, this is going to take responsibility and accountability to make things happen. But like, I took the opportunity and I was like, yes, thank you, more please, right?
So you took the opportunity, you seized the opportunity, like you saw, no, back up. You saw the opportunity. You took
Because of
the
the
opportunity.
manifestation, and then I took
Yes.
it, and then
And then
that's when
you
I
took
realized
action.
I manifested this,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So for the things that I very specifically manifested, and I don't like taking credit for it, because yes, manifesting, it's a verb, it's an action noun, right? So like there were things I was doing and I wanted it and I believed in magic, but at the same point, like you're gonna get what you deserve, what you're supposed to have, right? So like sometimes when you feel like you don't deserve it, well, the universe doesn't give you things you're not ready for, right? Like
Mhm.
in good things, like a lot of people, this is a future episode, but grief and grieving and loss, that's different. So we're talking about being ready and willing to take the things that are meant for you in this world. That's
Mhm.
what we're manifesting. But so for me, it was kind of believing in that level of magic, that good things exist for me in the world, and the universe is going to co-conspire with me to make it happen.
Mhm.
But so with it is not putting limitations or expectations on it. So instead of, I want this boy or girl I see every day on the bus but never speak to fall madly in love with me and be the love of my life, and instead of that, or like this specific person, why don't they love me, I want to manifest this person. Instead I say, I would like a relationship that meets my social, emotional, physical, spiritual, mental needs and goals, right?
Mhm.
It's a broad blanket statement, but like, I am ready for love and I want it to fill me up and, meet everything that I need in this world, and me them, right? Like that's the things that everything involves something else, right? So when you're looking for the perfect job, you also want to make sure that not only is it your dream job, but you're their dream candidate, right? That, right? Like it's,
Well, yes.
yeah.
You
So
need to think about that for everything that you want in your life.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
for me, so one of the stories, I don't know if I've told this on the show or not, but I did that manifestation Kundalini online course by Nicole Nardoni.
Mhm.
It's an e-course, but I did it in real time at a time she was also kind of offering it live. So there was a Facebook support group with her for questions or to share your experiences with others, and then there's kind of a live call at the end of the journey. But otherwise, I did things in my own time, YouTube videos with her, a lot of journaling exercises, and really identifying what it is I want and need, and understanding my blocks and what's getting in the way, and then using Kundalini yoga and other techniques to clear them and to call in, clean up my aura. But at the time, I was really unhappy with where I was living. I was renting, and what had once been the perfect place for me was going downhill fast. In so many ways, the universe was telling me, get out now. And it's a good enough place. Like the place is still standing, they're successful, they're fine. But like I had instances that were costing me money, that were costing me arguments with people, threats of legal action, things like it just like everything was like, this isn't your home anymore. Like even if you want to renew your lease, I don't know if they'll want you, right? Like it was just like everything became conflict, and I don't have that in my life, right? And it wasn't necessarily that I did anything intentionally wrong or they did anything intentionally wrong, but it was just all the pests were happening, things with parking, things with feeling safe and secure in the home, and other people weren't experiencing that, right? So this is in the middle, or like right as I'm starting this course, I was just like, you know what? Like, what are my intentions? What are my needs? What are my wants? I was like, you know what? Like, yeah, I'd like love. Who wouldn't like love? I'm not in a place for that right now. Everybody needs and wants money. Like, yeah, that's kind of a given, like universal, just blanket statement that out there. It's like, what I really need is a home that meets my physical needs, my, spiritual, like a place I can grow. So I created this statement around a home, not a house, not an Italian villa, not, like not somewhere with certain trees or certain gardens, but I needed to meet these needs for me. Just, I
Yeah.
didn't state what those needs were. I wanted my physical needs, how I was feeling cramped. I needed to be able to afford it, obviously. So,
Mhm.
and the third or fourth day of the class, I get a text message from a realtor that throughout 6 months to a year, she was trying to call me. It was a friend of a friend who heard I wanted to rent a house. And I don't want to talk on the phone, and I can find a house to rent on my own. I don't need a realtor for that, right? But she texted, which is my preferred method of conversation. And then like everything she offered at the time in the meeting and the meeting time, everything just flowed. So whereas my apartment at the time,
Wow.
everything was conflict,
Yeah.
everything in this process, Amy, within 28 days of texting her back, I had
Mhm.
closed on my house.
Yeah.
28 days. That's an insane amount of time to close on a house when you're looking for one.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I didn't have money for a down payment. I thought I had crap credit. She connected me to this wizard of a loan officer or lender who I have since referred on to other people, where he's created magic for them, right? I've referred him to people who didn't use them, and he's still, they still got their homes or did their life. But
Mhm.
my experience helped other people manifest what they needed. But the entire time, and I love telling this story because like I pulled up to this house after she sent me the picture of it. I decided to drive there on the way home, see what it was like before, a couple days before the viewing, and it just felt like my home. Like you said, like I just pulled up and I was like, oh, I'm at my house. So then we go to the viewing, and I'm just like, I'm walking in my house, right?
Yeah.
And then she's like, I can't let you put an offer on the first house you ever look at. So we're gonna go look at other houses. And I was just like, this is not my house. This it doesn't even matter how much I love or don't love the other one, the energy of these houses. This is not my house.
Yeah.
And everything worked. Everything in a not a buyer's market. Everything worked for me. The money that I needed materialized. People came to help. I got them
So,
to cover closing costs. Like this whole thing.
yeah.
So this
Do
whole
you think
time,
it came down to like, was it because you were doing all these other things with the Kundalini manifestation? Was it because you actually wrote this list of what you needed? Was it a combination of everything? Like, what do you bring? Where do you see it landing?
so the exercises she had us do, which are just journal exercises, and some of them are similar to shadow work, and some of them are just
Hmm.
goal setting, intention, and knowing what you want in life. It got me to think about things that I hadn't been thinking about. and home ownership did not seem available to me. It wasn't even a
Sure.
consideration.
Yeah.
And so by posing it in that way of I want a home that meets these needs, and
Mm-hmm.
financial was one of the ones listed, that I didn't say no, right? Like when you're looking at homes,
Yeah.
like I'm in a contract to agree with her that I'm not going to look at homes with anybody else. But when I already was like, I was no longer in the mindset of I can't afford a home, and now in the mindset of this person believes I can find a house, and this lender believes I'll get
Yeah.
approved for it. And everything just started to open along the way because I didn't put barriers up. Not once after I met with her did I say, I can't afford a house, right? Like once I put the offer in and it was accepted, I almost pulled over on the side of the road and threw up because dear God, what did I get into?
Yeah.
But I talked to a few other
Okay.
homeowners who said they had the same thing.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
buyer's
opened myself
remorse.
back
It
up. Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
But here's what I love. I love that you didn't put barriers up, that you were open to all this. Open episode, whatever, 27.
Kind of like we use our life as
Yeah.
inspiration for the show.
Yeah. Yeah. So you didn't put barriers up,
Nope.
but also the fact that you said, that you're looking for a home, not apartment, not house, not villa. Home is actually a feeling word. Home is what you make of the place that you live for it to feel like home, right? So
Mhm.
the fact that you use that word instead of apartment, house, townhouse, whatever other word you could have used, I feel like it opened you up to so many possibilities, but also it gave that connotation of that feeling word as well. So I really love those two things, the home word, because that did not close you off to the fact that it was a house and it was for sale. And also that you were just like, anything she said, you were like, okay, let's just see
And
what happens with
you know
this.
what it also did?
What?
It put a big wall up against what I don't want. It made me really have to sit in and realize I'm not staying in this apartment. Not another year,
Yeah.
not another day past my lease. This is not
Yeah.
my home. This does not meet any of my needs. Once it did, and I'm grateful for that, this is not what I want, right? Like it made
Yeah.
me identify what I want.
Yeah.
And then that gave me a little bit more drive and a little bit more energy to go after what I did.
I love that too, that you realized what you didn't want, but that you were also grateful for what you had, but you were done with it.
Yeah, it served its
Yeah.
purpose. But now, like you said, in hindsight, everything in hindsight. So I think this episode actually goes up on or around the third anniversary of my buying experience.
Oh, fun.
Oh, it's about a week or two
Okay. Okay.
which is just so weird to say that I've been a homeowner
Yeah.
for 3 years, right?
Yeah.
What I've been thinking about for the past year, because it still feels like my home, and I'm not. When people ask, "Is this your forever home?" I was like, I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm open to it being that, but I'm not
Yeah.
putting limitations on it because my ask to the world is it for it to meet these needs. And then that also means that I have to show up to those needs too, right? Like I now have certain
Ooh,
financial
yeah.
limitations that I can't just
Hmm.
say F it and quit my job, right? I still
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
be responsible with my budget. If I want it to be a certain appearance or comfort or whatever for my physical needs, I have to maintain that. I am the steward of this home, right? So it's kind of
Hmm.
making my vibration and my energy has to match what I'm receiving or elevate to get more, right? As soon as I as soon as my vibe and my energy and my thoughts go below what I have, I risk losing it, right? I risk getting less than what I want. So it is kind of like that balance of energy for me. But what I've noticed this past year is as great as this house is and as thankful as I am to have it and how much I love about it, I actually feel like it's created opportunities for me I never would have had otherwise for that love piece, for the spirituality piece, for those all those other level 10 life areas I talk about, friends,
Amazing.
family,
Yeah.
that I have a different future here by living here, by manifesting this, by receiving this,
Yeah.
would have if I would have stayed at the apartment or chosen something else.
Right. And I mean, I think that anyone can understand that it's almost like, yep, this is the timeline that I'm on now. I'm on the timeline where I own a house, right? And these are the new
Well,
opportunities because of that.
but so not only that, but like an ask that I had or a want that I had for my house that I hadn't specified or even really remembered that I needed or wanted until last year during the pandemic. My cousin, when she bought her house, there's this tiny little park with this trail. You wouldn't even know it exists. I still don't, to this day, don't know how she found it. It's about a 10-minute walk from her house, but it's like this secret garden, trail, foresty nature place where she does her running. It was really healing for her. And although I didn't want that park in my head, I was like, God, I wish I had this. I live off a major freeway, right? Like, and that was needed at the time because of my commute and wanting to decrease that. But last year, I spent, 2 to 3 hours a day in the woods near my house. I have exactly what she has
Yeah.
and then some.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm still recognizing all the different ways that manifestation has come true, right? And then it's that gratitude piece that's part of receiving.
Yes.
It's
And
just
yeah.
continually being grateful
Oh,
for
yeah. We're
what
going to
you
talk
have and what
a
you
lot
continue
about
to
that.
get. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it's super powerful, and it's important for people to realize that it's not just like, hey, I want this thing. Okay, here you go. Right. There's some thought and decisions and work that and gratitude that goes into all of this. So part of like why I wanted to ask if you could actually see how you did it was because I did find some helpful things online for people. If, say, you're in a spot where you're like, that's all good for that person. Right now, I'm cranky and crabby about my life, and I don't believe that I can receive, and I'm closed off, and I'm not feeling it. What are you gonna what are you gonna do for me now?
And I
Right?
have a few people in my life. I'm going to call you out. Turn the volume up, put the kids away, pay attention, go sit in the car, go for a walk. Because the number one thing I hear from the people around me is, I'm not lucky like you. And
Yeah.
first of all, you're not going to be with that mindset. Not once did
Right.
I ever question my luck, my worthiness,
Yeah.
or my ability to receive. It is not.
Right.
And that is a huge component of it.
I agree 100%. And I think that part of how we store so much stuff in our body, right? Our body is actually sometimes we need to do physical things in order to get our body to just like calm the F down so that we can be more open. Um, and to just sort of set aside need and lack and not lucky. Okay.
So you say calm down, and while I agree that's kind of like what the physiological feeling is,
Mm-hmm.
what really happens is energy gets stuck, right? And then we get physical or mental ailments from it.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so
And
a lot of these things you're talking
yes,
about just move the energy, which
yes.
allows all the positive stuff or allows your energy to go out or allows things to come in, but it moves
So
the stuckness from you.
right. And I think when I'm talking about calming down, I'm talking about that anxiety that can build
Mhm.
up or all those
Because you
things.
have
But
energy
you're
somewhere
right.
that shouldn't be, right?
Yep.
Like it
You
can't
do
move.
have energy stuck. Yeah. So, number one, just like, and I found these, even though we all know these, but this list I actually found on my Mind Body Green. So I just want to give that out there. But the first one thing is breathing. And if anyone here has taken any kind of meditation class or yoga class, you know that it's best to breathe from your diaphragm. So you put your hand on your belly, on your tummy. And actually, when you look at little kids, this is how babies breathe. They breathe with their diaphragm. So basically, we are taught to breathe up
Mhm.
here
I actually
when we're
remember a choir
born.
teacher telling me not to breathe so deeply into my stomach. And now when I go to do meditations and breathing things, I'm so mad because I have to consciously inhale to fill my belly and it feels awkward and weird and wrong.
I'm so sorry that that happened.
Me too.
Whereas
Thank
I
you.
have the opposite because I was young when I started taking yoga and they taught me how to do that. It just,
I
I've
love
been breathing through my diaphragm ever since I can remember. So breathe through your diaphragm. It just, the breath always helps center
And
you.
if you're not sure what to do and you're not into yoga yet, maybe your body is still, the energy's not moving. There's breath work courses, there's breath
Yeah.
work classes, there's breathwork meditations. Like you can go and do it in a group of people with a skilled leader, do it in your home with a guide in your ear.
I'm betting you can look it up on YouTube for
That
free
too. There
as
you go.
well. Yeah. So meditating, I know. Maybe you don't want to hear it, but there you go. Meditating, because that can help, of course. You talked about, like in the last episode with power, the different things you can do physically to help you feel more powerful. Well, doing things physically can also help that energy get unstuck. So, any kind of movement, because you, like I said, you store things in your body, stuck energy, but also like your muscles have the memory of past traumas, past embarrassments, all those things. You hold that in your body. So,
And that's what I like about Kundalini yoga is
yeah,
it's about a lot of it is about repetitive motions, right? So you do
right.
the same thing for a certain amount of minutes that correlates, whether 11 minutes, 21 minutes, 7 minutes, it correlates to something, but it's meant to hurt to a degree. It's meant to break you because you're resetting your nervous system. You're creating new paths. You're creating new ways of being. You're shedding the old. And so that's where that, when you asked, was it a combination? That's where the
Mm-hmm,
Kundalini yoga part of it came in. And then you also have the mantras that mean certain things, and that's
mm-hmm,
calling in stuff from the divine. So that's what I love about this is there's so many things out there, whether it's Tai Chi, Kundalini yoga, regular yoga, meditation,
mm-hmm.
it all kind of gets tied together. And it's about
Yes.
your connection with self and source, right? And
Yeah.
whatever you think those things are, mind, body, spirit is where I go.
Yeah, I love that you brought up that it is supposed to feel pain or uncomfortable because you are
Uncomfortable.
building new neural pathways and new ways of thinking about things. Look, if it was like super easy, everybody'd be millionaires and
We'd all be
like,
manifesting everything all the
here's the thing, it's going to take work, and it's whether you can decide, yes, this is work I want to do, or no, this is not work that I want to do. So yes.
And yeah, so for me, I just met with a new therapist, and one of the things that I told her is like, I learned in one of my first ever sessions with the therapist, after telling him what's going on in my life, where I'm unhappy, what I want. He's like, okay, I've identified 4 areas we could work on. Where would you like to start? And I said, that third one felt really abrasive, and I was intentionally not going to say anything about that one. So I think that's where we should start.
Not everyone is you, Tracy.
And that is what
And
she said. And
yes.
and so if nothing changes, if nothing changes. And so, well,
Yeah.
sometimes, yes, you do kind of have to go in a linear model, or there is kind of a chronological things of stuff you
Mm-hmm.
got to work out or identify or know first.
Mm-hmm.
I am a huge proponent of leaning into that discomfort, of just pulling that band-aid off and getting to the source and getting
Yeah.
better quick, right?
Yeah.
And so some of the stuff, your blockages, it's going to open up old wounds, but the more you
Well,
tend to it, the better, faster it'll heal, right?
yeah. And sometimes that's why when you've been doing some exercising, maybe some hard exercising, sometimes at the end of that you'll cry. Like that's a release. That's a release of energy, of things that you didn't even know you had stuck in you. Um, Another thing that they said was to, before we get to gratitude, because of course gratitude journaling is going to come up, but before we get to that, they actually said to write down your worries. And at first I was like, you want to put those out there? But then I went, oh, it's way better to get them out of your head
Yeah, you
on
don't want to
paper.
ruminate on your worries. You want to
Right.
identify them.
Identify them. And then on paper, when something's on paper, it's way easier to look at it and go, oh, wait, look at this thing. This is not as bad as I thought. Or, oh, I didn't think of this thing I could do. Right. So you get it out of your brain.
But
Because
also, when it comes to manifestation, you have to know where you're at and what you need and what you want. Because it's really easy to be like, I want $5 million and to never have to work another day.
yeah.
I don't know if everybody's energetic vibe matches that. And if we all got that, our society would fall into
But
ruin.
actually, and what I would say too is, do you actually want $5 million and to never work again? Or do you want a sense of freedom
Yeah. So
and
what
to
I
do
did
what you
once,
want?
I didn't recognize it as manifestation until after the fact. And I even did it at the right time of the moon cycle in hindsight. But I got really into bullet journaling, and I one of the bullet journaling thing is like the debt snowball technique, which I know there's a lot of different ways to do it, but that's one of the images that caught my eye because my debt at the time was something I was just keeping up with and that I didn't think I could ever pay off, and I felt really overwhelmed by it, and so I avoided it. Anxious avoidance, right? You're never going to manifest the financial abundance you need to pay it off when you're avoiding it, right? I didn't even know where I was to even be able to ask what I needed.
Right.
So
You got to look at your money or lack
right.
thereof before you want to manifest more.
So I drew out in my little bullet journal with like graph square pages. You know, every square was $100, and for all of my different debt, I wrote it all out. And then on the page next to it, I wrote all the things I want to do in life or want to have. You know, and I was like, how am I ever going to be able to afford a trip to Australia with this debt? How am I ever going to have a MacBook with this debt? I have to get this debt under control or I can't have these good things, right? Like it made me, and instead of being in the mindset of like, oh God, I can't do Australia, right? It more made me be like, this is what I have to do to get this. This is, so like my goals also had boxes of, you know, different things to save for, different things to do. So I had visual representations of both. Shortly after doing that and having this awareness of, you know, if I just had $15,000, my life would feel manageable. No, Amy, like it wouldn't pay off all of my debt. It wouldn't change
No, I
my
know
life,
where this is going though.
right? I had a huge sum of money fall into my lap, and somebody else in my life also needed money. And lo and behold, splitting it in half exactly, we each got exactly what we needed. I was able to pay down all that miscellaneous debt that was overwhelming me that couldn't be combined. And suddenly everything seemed to open up in the world for me. I didn't have that hanging over me. But let's say I had won that money. Let's say I had gotten that money that I needed. Had I not done that exercise, how quickly would I have wasted that money? So many people who win the
Such a good point.
lottery
Yeah.
become poorer than when before they won, right? Because they give it away, because they don't know how to manage it, because they have all this excess needs and wants, and all they see are other people's needs and wants, and suddenly they feel like they have a solution for it. Whereas by doing that exercise, and it was not with the intention of the universe giving me money, right? But I was able to recognize opportunities. And when the opportunity came, I was able to apply it immediately. And I knew myself before the end. Once I got that check, within 4 hours, everything was paid. That money was spent. And there were a couple of people in my life that were like, no, you should have taken a breath. And I was like, no, I knew exactly what I needed, and the universe gave it to me. Like it was that intuition piece you were talking about, where in hindsight, like once I got the money, it was like, thank you, yes, more please. But like, I'm going to use this in the way that I said, so that I now feel like I can go to Australia. I now feel like I can do these other things. I now feel like I can save money.
Yeah. I
So,
love that you wrote it down, and that you wrote down both aspects, that you wrote down the debt that you had. So you looked at it, you saw what it was that you needed, where you were coming from, and that you also were looking at, these are the things that I want in my life. And I need to like deal with this before I can do that.
and so you can do that with career, which we've covered at length in the past 2 episodes, but you can also do that with love and relationships. One of the big things with manifesting is to take a page in your notebook and write down all the qualities you want in a person. So again, don't be like, I want Justin Bieber, and then describe him to a T, right? Like think hard and fast about the qualities you want. Then think
More about, instead of like villa in Italy, think more about the word home and
home.
what that entails, right?
Yeah.
So do it with that kind of aspect.
But so you write out like that person that would fulfill all these needs for you, and then you look at that person and you're like, well, what kind of person would they need? And of that, what do I want to be? And so then you fill that other page with the qualities of what you want. And so now you have this roadmap of not only what to be aware of on the left and look for in the world, but then on the right, what do I need to be more of, and how can I be showing up better, right?
Yeah, I love it, because it feels so much more balanced. You're not just like, give me this, give me this. You're like, yes, and also I am going to become this, or I am becoming this thing.
And when it comes to love and manifesting love in relationships, the hardest thing I've seen some of my friends go through, and in their divorce, I once had this friend that was like, but we were so perfect. We both wanted family. And I was like, everything you've described of the challenges you're facing and like why you're breaking up, I don't think you define family the same.
Oh, right.
There's so many words, love and, just different ways we
commitment
describe
and
showing up in
yeah.
the world and the type
Mm-hmm.
of life that we want, but they
Mm-hmm.
can be represented real differently. And
Yeah.
even if you both want a family, it really seemed like he kind of wanted that Mad Men lifestyle of a wife who takes care of the kids and I just show up every once in a while and I have
Yeah.
a family, whereas you wanted like this nuclear unit that did everything together.
Wow.
And so
Such a difference.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so like
Yeah.
really getting down into what those words are and how you want to feel, how you want to make someone else feel, how you
Yes.
want them to make you feel, that's totally different in what you're going to attract and recognize, right?
Yes.
It's that green car versus I want to see green motorcycles, right? Like
Right. It's a powerful thing. And I think people need to recognize that. What's the say? Beware of what you wish, for you will surely get it. Right.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, of course, talking about like the bullet journaling and things like that, there's always gratitude. In order to call in what you want, you have to be grateful for the things that you already have and to see what you already have.
And
Right.
that's a genuine, authentic gratefulness. So you don't have to be grateful that you have somebody that treats you like crap in your life. You don't have to be
No,
grateful for a crappy
no.
car, right? So be grateful for the things you want. Thank you. Yes, more, please.
Sometimes I am grateful for the cup of coffee that I'm drinking in the morning, right? And grateful for the bird that just flew past. It can be that simple. And so one thing that I am going to put out there for everyone is, I know when I use my gratitude journal, I feel so much better and I'm more open and I feel like I can see the opportunities more. And I don't want to overwhelm anyone, but I think if everybody just started writing 3 things every day, just 3 things you're grateful for. Just like Tracy said, it doesn't have to be like the crappy relationship you're in, but it could be the cup of coffee you're drinking, that kind of thing. I think that it would make a big difference in your life. So quickly, I just want to go over like some kind of fun
Yeah, so
manifestation
you
things.
found, through your research, you found some ways people have manifested and that they try
Yeah.
and teach others, right? So some
Yeah.
different ways. Yeah. So what do you got?
Yeah. So uh, this one, it's called a few different things, but I just like calling it the 2 cup method. I've heard it called the 2 cup method. Some people say it's dimension jumping or timeline jumping, but basically you got 2 glasses. All right. Got 2 glasses. You've got 2 post-it notes. One post-it note, you're going to write your current situation. I am broke and in debt, whatever your current situation is. Okay. You're going to put that post-it note on that glass. On the other post-it note, you're going to put your desired situation.
Your end
I
state,
what?
desire to end state, right?
Yes. Yep. And in the present tense, and the mistake that I made when I first did it is I referenced the first cup, like more money than I had, blah blah blah. It's
Yeah.
like no,
It's like
and I
with
didn't
intentions.
realize it.
You
Yeah.
can't say I want to be debt free. You have to say I want to be have financial freedom, right? You
Right.
can't
And
reference the negative in the new state.
don't reference the negative, but don't reference the other situation either, because you're actually jumping dimensions with this 2 cup method. So first one is I'm broke and in debt. Second one is I have more money than I need and I feel powerful and open to receive. So
I'm
put
taking
those
notes.
put both. So one post-it note goes on this glass, one glass, other post-it note on the other glass. The first glass that has the current situation, you're going to pour water into. Okay. You're going to look at that glass. You're going to say what your current situation is. You're going to pick up the second glass that has your desired end state. You're going to pour the water from the current situation glass into the desired end state glass. Then you're going to look at that glass. You're going to say your desired end state, and you're going to drink that water. And you're going to love drinking that water. And then you're going to say thank you. And then you can take that post-it note, desired end state, and put it in a beautiful notebook, make designs around it. Take that other post-it note from your undesirable situation and get rid of it. And that's the 2 cup method, basically.
And I know you said basically you have to believe it worked. You have to
Well,
believe it is
okay.
working. So you
All
may
of these
not go and
things,
win the
yeah.
lottery right away the next day, but a huge part of this, and why I think my, at least, attitude and what I see that I've received and the opportunities I have is different than other people in my life. I have a near naive, childlike sense of wonder and belief in these things. And
Right.
that's where I
But
find the power.
also, so what I would say is leading up to these things, do those things we were talking about before, the breathing, the meditation, the moving, to
Yes.
sort of open yourself up,
Don't just
getting that stuck
play
energy.
alchemist and move
Right.
water between glasses. You got to do the
Right.
work. Yeah.
Right.
I
So
love
then
it.
another one that I haven't tried, well, I started trying, my hand cramped up because it was just too hard. You're supposed to write your desired end state 55 times, 5 days in a row. Okay. So say like I am a millionaire 55 times, which, do you know what it's like to write something? It's like school, right? I will not talk in class on the chalkboard, right? I will not talk in class on the chalkboard. Your hand cramps up. But apparently people do this.
So don't
So
type it, handwrite it.
no, you have to handwrite it. And you can't be like, let me write it 10 times now and come back in a half an hour and write 10 more. You are supposed to write it 55 times.
There's a
You sit
brain body
down.
connection with that one.
There actually is. And it's sort of the same thing with what you were talking about with getting uncomfortable, maybe having some pain. You are developing new pathways. At the end of the 5 days, you have to let this go. So whether you fold it up, you put it in an envelope, you seal it, you put it away, you do something, you don't just keep looking at it and my precious it,
Because then it's too needy. You can't be needy or too
right,
wanting. You can look
right,
for it, but you can't be like, oh God, universe, why hasn't this
right.
happened yet?
So then, and this one, I think, he talks about it in Think and Grow Rich, but it's actually scripting your life. And it's sort of like what you were talking about before. You actually write down like, I am so, but you do it, as if it's happening now. I'm so happy that now I have this lovely home that I'm living in with my beautiful family, and this is
I
the family
feel
that I
this
want.
way. My partner
Yes.
makes
And you,
me feel this way.
yes, you have to be super detailed about that one. The script is super detailed. In order to get this money, I did this, and these are the things I'm going to do with this money. I'm going to give back to, the community by donating this money to that. So you get super specific with that. So those are just, honestly, if you Googled like manifestation techniques, you're going to find a billion of them. But like we've been saying, you have to believe it. Like you have to do the work. You have to believe it. And then you have to actually take some inspired action too, right?
And so I'm going to throw this in there. Follow the doubt. So when you have that doubt of like,
Mm,
so for me, I recently had an opportunity to apply for a position come to
mm-hmm.
me, and I immediately had doubt with it. And then I was like, what is that about? Is it really not the right
Nice.
time? Do I, like, why
Mm-hmm.
don't I want it? What am I worried about? And then I ended up talking it out with my boss and then with some people around me. And now I'm like, you know what? I'm at least going to throw my hat into the ring, right? Like, but then when I was kind of, reflecting on it, I was like, you manifested this opportunity. You weren't even looking for a new position. And like, this is going to help re-engage you in your work, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
temporary, so I'm not going to have to completely abandon what I'm doing if I do get chosen for it or if I do
Right.
apply for it. But I
Right.
had to follow, like, had I let that seed of doubt plant and then just closed out of the opportunity, not brought it up with my boss, I would have lost, like, I wouldn't have even recognized that, hey, you kind of wanted this, you didn't know it because you yeah, but
It's a super good point, because I think that when we come up with against doubt, we take that as intuition, instead of being like, oh, I need to look at this and what story am I telling myself about this? Right.
yeah, why
I
does
think,
yeah.
with any of this stuff, like you have to figure out a way that works for you. Right. But
You can't take what I did and try and apply it, right? That's
well, you could. I mean, you could. I mean, why not have fun with it, right? Why not do these experiments and see what works for you? But you also have to, like, you can't you can't look at these experiments and go, fine, I'll try it. It's not
right.
going to work, but I'll try it. That's not going to happen. You have to have fun with it. You have to find what works for you. sometimes it's kind of what Tracy and I were talking about, like that hindsight. How did I get that in my life? Like what was I
And you
feeling?
give the universe a little bit of credit
Yeah.
for how you got to where you are, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, who is it? Aziz Ansari. There's some comedian who talks about like, oh, hey, buddy, how'd you meet your wife? Oh, we were both in the Bath and Body Works line, and then we got to talking about blah blah blah. Blah. And he's like, whoa, 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 wait up, like. You both had to live in the same area. You both had to have a need. You both had to park next to, or no, it was two people that had the same car and they got their cars mixed up because they parked next to each other. So all of these things that had to happen
Mm-hmm.
to get you into your silver Jetta and then get you there that
Yeah.
day. That's why whenever I see the signs that I ask for, the types of things that I see as signs on a license plate or on billboards or addresses or whatever, while I know I'm probably seeing it because it means something to me and I like it, what are the literal odds that this person with this series of numbers happen to be in the same neighborhood, the same time, same location I am when this is not a part of my regular day, right?
No,
Like
you
what
you
has
do
to
need
line
to
up?
look at that. And I know that we've said this before. Magic is in the world and you have to see it.
You have to believe in it.
Honestly. Yes, you do.
So
What
what
did
does the
I do
universe
with my
tell you? What
yeah,
magic is in the world?
what did I do with my car? Oh, there it is. The universe, we yeah, so the universe finally said Page of Pentacles, which I really liked for manifestation. Part of it, not even just like what it means, but part of it is because the way the page on this card is looking at the pentacle. The page is like holding it up, like, oh, he reveres it and is happy that it's there and he's going to take care of it. But also the fact that it does mean literally manifestation.
I know. I opened my book to the middle. Like I already knew that it had like one page with some quotes and a description. And I was like, no, like I'm just gonna open to the part that I know. And so like in paragraph 3, it started talking about manifestation. But so then I turned to the first page and it's like keyword manifestation. And I was like, okay,
Right.
universe, like
Yeah.
sorry, you knew I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't
And
need to
it
find
is, I
supporting
mean,
evidence.
right. And pentacles are a lot about your resources. But typically, when people first start wanting to manifest things, they are thinking of their resources, right? Money, houses, shelter, like that kind of stuff is typically what people think about when they want to
Well, and what
manifest
I liked when
something.
you drew this is a page is a beginner of things.
Yes.
And
A page is a
And
beginner.
I feel like every time I go to manifest something, I'm a beginner at manifesting that thing, right? Even with the career stuff, I have a little bit of success behind me, so it's easy. I try not to feel too overconfident and still put in the
Mm-hmm.
work. But I'm constantly a beginner every time
Yeah.
because I'm trying to level up. I'm trying to raise my vibe, raise my energy.
Well, and remember that beginner's brain, um, there's no room for pessimism or cynicism, right? In a beginner's brain, you are all about how can I make this work? Like, this is really cool. So it's also about doing the practical to allow for the magical. I love that. So, sort of the things that we're talking about, like journaling and meditating and things like that, and actually taking action in order to allow for the magical.
So Amy, why should one manifest, right? Like it's really easy to be like, I want a house, right? But like what's the core of manifesting? Why would I continue to do it once I get what I wanted? Are we going to talk about that next week maybe?
that is that is a really good question. And I wasn't even tying it to what we were talking about next week.
But you
That's
did.
funny.
Yeah, I
I
mean it leads
did,
to something,
but
right?
I got to it in a different way. Because I don't know.
So what are we going to talk
You
about?
threw me off. You threw
Sorry.
me off,
I'm so
Tracy.
sorry. I
No,
jumped
that's
ahead.
okay. So basically, like it's openness, power, manifesting. Where do those things lead for so many people? And we're talking about abundance next week, right? But there's all kinds of ways to feel abundant and in a good way. Not I feel abundantly bad, but abundance can be
Health and wealth.
felt in many different ways.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's what we're talking about next week.
I love that. Well, if this episode spoke to your soul, please share it with a friend. And if you have time, give us some love on your preferred platform with the rate, review, and subscribe. You can also reach out to us via Instagram and YouTube under The Brightly Podcast or via email at brightlypodcast@gmail.com.
And we hope you have a bright and beautiful day.
Manifest that.
Yeah.